Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Channel 5 debate studio, where we are here once again with the party leaders for the election debate. This term has been an entertaining one, and for the first time we have four parties, grand last election, running again this step. We have four representatives, three of them being the party leaders, and one of them being the deputy leader. We will be doing their opening statements first, and then we'll be on to a debate topic. And then last but not least will be audience. So, opening statements, you will all have 1 minute to project, just say hello and blah blah blah. You know what opening statements. And first up we have Nine Keegan, who is the deputy leader.
I'm not. Just here.
Well, he's the representative for the Conservatives. So, hello, Kean, and you'll have a minute starting from now.
There might be four different parties being represented on the stage tonight. Whilst they might look different, they're actually the same on some of the big issues that affect this country. An alternative is available, however. A change with real, well-thought-out, pragmatic change. Yeah. That alternative is with the Conservatives. We're the only party that will stand up for Britain on the global stage. We're the only party that wants to protect the workers of our great nation. And we're the only party with a reasonable plan for Ireland. This election, you can choose an alternative party. You can make a real difference.
Is that all?
It is.
That was way under a minute.
Keeping it snappy.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Next we have the Liberal Democrats leader, Karanka123, or Cranky Karanka. Sorry. Okay, go.
Good evening, everyone. This election is about leadership. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think any of us are going to win a majority. None of the candidates here are going to form a government without help from parties and compromise. So let's truthfully ask ourselves what we are here for. We're here to make a judgment on what people and what personalities will take us forward. The reality is we have a choice between a campaigning government who will stand up more for what will gain them support than necessarily for what is right, two members of the old guard who have had their chance, or me and the Lib Dems. And if you think we are a risky leap of faith, look again. Our policies and plans are credible but ambitious. We have proven in 2 terms as the junior party in coalitions that we can step up and deliver. Give us a stronger mandate and we will show what we can truly be made of. Thanks.
Thank you, Karanka. Next up we have Phantom Jerker, Sir Phantom Jerker from the Imperials. I think Karanka's a Sir, isn't he? Yeah, he probably is. And he's the party leader of the Imperial Party. So off you go.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone who has tuned in to watch, and my right honourable colleagues for turning up to this debate. Obviously, it does make that difference. Let me tell you a quick narrative. All right. So, once every other year comes a party that shifts the United Kingdom truly into the next gear. It is formed out of dissatisfaction and apathy of the current political system and parties. The party that comes forward with thinking and innovative policies. It is time that the British Lion truly roars again. It is only the Imperial Party who has rose from the ground, being the youngest party, and pushed their ways to the front lines. There is a choice this election, Britain. Vote for a party that cares, that was built by the same soil of the earth that we all are, by true love and patriotism for this country, and will work only with you and for you. Make the right choice this election. Vote the Imperial Party, and together we can move forward.
Thank you, Phantom Jerker. Next up, we have Dean R. Heathcote, mate.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're the deputy leader of the New Labour Party. So off you go.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Choice at this election is very simple. You're either going to have a majority or we're going to have another broken coalition that is just not going to work. And let's look at it like this. The Imperials, they're not going to form a majority. At most, it will be a coalition with the Conservatives, and it just won't work. In a government with a majority, and New Labour actually provides that. We're leading right now. We've been leading for the last 2 months. We've still got our innovative ideas. We've still got a plan. Still caring for the people. So the thing is, I can't exactly rule out what my right honourable friends here have said. Do need the British line to roar, but it isn't going to roar with them. It's going to roar with the New Labour Party. Make sure you vote for us. We can get the majority and actually start putting the British people first, start putting the Commonwealth first, re-innovating the Home Office, and start fixing up Ireland from the ground up. In fact, build up this entire country upwards. To keep Britain great, and we've got to keep that lion over people's government, the New Labour Party. Thank you.
Well, thank you all 4 of you for your opening statements, and we are now moving on to May. Oh, okay, now we are moving on to our topics, and then at the end we'll move on to our audience question at the end. First up, our first question, and any of you 4 can start the debate. One talking point of last term was Ireland. Many opposition members said the previous government neglected Ireland. How will you guys help Ireland to improve? Who wants to hit at it?
Sorry, just to make a previous point, I do apologise for transgressing a little bit back, but I've just had to get this out because in Dean's statement, he said that he basically that you can choose to have another failed coalition. I just want to remind everyone watching that the coalition was led by the Prime Minister, who is the leader of the New Labour Party, which sounds a bit funny to me. But anyway, I'll give you all the stance.
Nobody told me it was broken.
Well, apparently Cranker was broken, and even if it was broken, it was his duty to not make it broken, basically. It all falls upon him, and if he failed to do that, and quite happily his deputy leader is recognising that failure, I mean, what can we do, really? I'll just give you some Imperial points. All right, so we as Imperials recognise the importance for Ireland. The previous unfortunate neglect it has faced by previous governments as well, on numerous accounts, when others failed, and even to the fact that they sat to refuse to listen to another question about Ireland from the opposition, the Imperials truly continue to support Ireland. We are fully committed to Ireland. That is the bottom line. In order for Ireland to be successful, Imperials, we've got the key to unlock that potential. All right. So that goes right from the top in terms of governance to development to jobs. It is our goal to make Ireland attractive to businesses, employers, and citizens. We plan ultimately at some point delivering an elected assembly for Ireland after the initial setup of an executive to aid, because that is one of the only ways we are going to achieve a successful Ireland. We will ensure, like never before, that Westminster will hear the concerns of Ireland and will hear the wills of the Irish people. We are not going to allow us, if we are in opposition or government, to be silenced once again by those in New Labour who have elected an Irish minister and still tell us to be quiet, because enough is enough and we can't keep letting Ireland down. Otherwise, it will just collapse. You've got to make the right choice here. And there's only one real right choice, and that's the Imperials.
Ian, would anyone else like to respond?
Yes, I would. Please,
Go
people.
ahead.
We must remember, I've read the Imperial Manifesto. It says they have several plans and initiatives. They haven't listed these at all in their manifesto. They obviously don't have them. They say they're going to work hard with the Governor of Ireland, but that's it. And don't even get me started on the New Labour Manifesto. They said in their manifesto, and I quote, "Under past governments, Ireland has been neglected." Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but the last government was a New Labour-led coalition. Ireland's been let down by all the big parties. Let's actually get something done about it, all right? So we need regular meetings with not just Ireland, but with its allies. We need to actually get other people involved with Ireland and actually boost its reputation. Because we've got the UN at the moment that allows a fake island to be recognised. Why are we allowing this? Now, we also need to introduce a locally democratically elected, but also a small-scale local assembly to keep local issues actually looked into. And of course, we should respect the wishes of the Lord Lieutenant and work closely with him, with obviously regular meetings. And we've already, we've got an actual plan outlined, unlike these other parties, which are just here saying, we're going to do this and that. They're not going to say what they're going to do because they have no clue.
Well, if
Sorry,
you give me a chance, I'm just going to quickly tell you what we're actually going to do. So what people keep saying is that we've failed on Ireland, that New Labour has completely
Your
ruined
manifesto
the
says it.
island. But no, we have not. Is we need to
So
work
you weren't in
extremely
government last
closely with the
Ian,
Lord
you weren't
Lieutenant.
in
We're
government
talking
last
about
term.
government
Dean,
before that.
Dean,
Government before that.
sorry,
please.
sorry
Go
to
on,
interrupt,
yes.
but Ian, please, he let you speak. Let Dean speak, okay?
Apologise. He can go on and lie to the
Dean,
public
go
as
ahead.
he usually does.
Go ahead.
Right, well, if I'm going to lie to the public, then at least hear my supposed lies, as you like to call them. What the other parties keep saying about us is that we've failed Ireland, that we've ruined the place. When we haven't, it was opposition to filibustering that almost kept Ireland in perpetual sort of the void, But I will tell you exactly what New Labour will actually do. We want to get the Royal Irish Constabulary up and running. We want recruitment campaigns for the Royal Irish Constabulary, regular startups, businesses into the area to actually start contributing to a local economy. We want new jobs in that area to actually attract people to places like Middletown. That is what we want to do as the New Labour Party and as a people's government. But at the end of the day, we also care for the Irish people, in the name, honestly.
Sorry, just to come back to that sort of point. Firstly, Mr.
Mhm.
Keane, thank you for saying that no other party has got a plan for Ireland besides Conservatives, because that is totally untrue for various different things.
Well, you haven't
Firstly-
said your plans.
Well, firstly, the Liberal Democrats, all right, and truth's got to be told because we've got to tell the truth where it is and give credit where it is. The Liberal Democrats had a whole section just on Ireland. That's the truth. And if that's not showing that they have plans, I don't know what is, to be honest.
Well,
I've also
they
said
had that in their last manifesto and they were in government. They didn't do anything, so I don't know how we're supposed to believe them.
I agree.
Comment on this.
Sure, mate. Yeah.
So we've had a lot of fun. Well, firstly, can I say it's taken 12 minutes and we're already throwing punches. Truthfully, I thought we could do better than this, but perhaps not.
Knock you out clean.
There's been a lot of fancy words and a lot of fancy language. I mean, let's be very honest here. The Conservatives, I've been doing this for a long time. There's been a lot of Conservative governments, and none of them have given devolved nations devolution the commitment it needs, and certainly not Ireland. So, for all of the plans that the Conservatives might have, and credit to them, there is a section in there with proposals for Ireland. I don't trust it. There's a suggestion in the Tory manifesto for a non-partisan liaison. Personally, I don't see the point of that, because the whole point, in my view, of the government taking action on Ireland is to give it political will and give it government leadership. Because I respect Jamie and the job that he does in Ireland, but it is important that you do have a government making plans and filling in with initiatives when you have that opportunity. The suggestions for the Fenton said about an elected body eventually for Ireland. In our manifesto, I've laid it out very clearly. The first step for me is bringing in an executive with the usual positions: finance, public services, legislative affairs. We would trial that for maybe a month, 2 months. Then we would have a referendum with an option for a fully elected assembly, keeping the executive as is, or returning to direct rule from the Lord Lieutenant and the UK government. We would act on that. If an assembly is chosen, I'll give that my full support. But I will also give any option that the Irish public choose that full backing. That's what we need. We need a clear step-by-step plan from people who've worked in devolved nations, from people who've been in the UK government for a long time, because I have. I know what Ireland needs. We know what Ireland needs. We'll deliver that.
Thank you, Cranker, for saying that as well. You are totally right. You have got a plan. The plan is quite similar to the Imperial plan. Me and Cranker have both worked in devolved governments. In fact, Cranker was my opposition in Scotland. I've got big respect for the guy, and I know his knowledge is deep and throughout. And like he has just described there, the plan is pretty much the same as what the Imperials fear, because we know both of our parties, to give credit where it's due, know what
Phantom?
the Irish people quite want. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Mr. Jarker, I'm going to stop you there because we
fine.
need to move on to our next question.
Oh.
We have a lot to get through today. So it's an interesting topic. I'm sorry for interrupting you and ending this topic here, but our next topic here. Our next question is on to the business sector. What will you do to prevent the issues that occurred with the Business Complaints Commission last time? So, any of you?
I don't mind.
Kieran, go ahead.
I'll start. Right, so pretty much, the Business Complaints Commission is a joke. It's not independent, it's run by the government, alright? The chairman was the Chancellor, alright? The deputy was the Minister of Business at the time. That's not independent. We need an actual independent body, which with cooperation with the Ministry of Justice, if we're going to have that. And that's not what we've got. So, what we do, we're going to pretty much, we believe in a small government, obviously, as Conservatives, but we think that we're going to introduce the new and improved Business Complaints Commission Act. What we're going to do is we're going to make it more investigatory, and we're going to submit the evidence to the Ministry of Justice instead to take action, because we feel it's just more sensible letting judges actually do their job, realistically, unlike censoring the media like the Liberal Democrats and Labour did last term. We don't want
Censoring the media.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Keane,
providing a
for bringing
false
that-
suspension is censorship.
Well, thank you, Mr. Keane, for bringing in that point, because, again, you've hit it on the head, just from an Imperial sort of perspective. All right, the Imperial Party, on multiple occasions, have stood up for media companies, just like with Ireland, when no one else wanted to stand with the Imperials and fight for justice for Channel 5 and for the rights of media companies and businesses. Imperials stood there and fought for it. And do you know what? We got ridiculed for it, for constantly bringing up the same point. Why did we do that? Because justice was not delivered. That is the fundamental key aspect to it. We as Imperials recognise that the current system needs refining and tuning better. It is, at the foundation and basis, a good idea and quite good, to be honest, and it has the potential, but it needs slight refining and tuning a little bit better. In fact, it was an Imperial opposition that initially demanded the independence of the BCC, only to be dismissed by the previous government. And it is fair to say now, let's be honest, that New Labour have done a U-turn on that, because in their manifesto now they're talking about making it independent.
Well, Dean,
They cannot be
and Frank,
trusted.
would you like to respond, either of you?
Yeah, sorry, my internet is absolutely terrible from the comfort of this shed. Yes, we have done a bit of a U-turn, but for good. We do want an actual independent business complaints commission chaired by the civil service, people who are actually neutral and something we actually do want to do. We do value transparency as well. We do kind of want to actually publicise what he's doing. We want people to actually see decision making that's going on behind that, hold it to account. That's what we actually want to do as a people's government.
Sorry, Dean, can I just ask? You've just said that you've made a U-turn. How many other policies are you going to make a U-turn on? How can people trust you if last term you did something different and this term you are doing something absolutely, completely different and have just admitted you have done a U-turn? Does that really mean that you know what the people want? Or did you
That
not
means
know
we're
what the people
listening to
wanted last
people's
term?
concerns, aren't we?
Not
We're
really.
actually listening to the people. It does.
Well,
So,
Can I-
like,
I'm-
People who elected you last time, you didn't fulfill any of their promises, did you?
I would presume Karanka 123 has a lot to say, considering he was the former Chancellor last time. So would you like to say anything?
I do have a lot to say, Sean. I'd like to come
Go
back
ahead.
on basically everything that's been said so far.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
so I'd just like to say something from the off. I never intentionally did I censor any media companies. The suspension for Channel 5, I've spoken to Channel 5. I don't need to do this here. I apologise for the way that case was dealt with. I was completely new to the job. It was 24 hours, 48 hours in from when I took over. The procedures weren't in place because they'd been mishandled by previous governments. The Business Complaints Commission was not in position to do anything. I had to make a quick judgment based on, weighing up priorities, and I accept that, Channel 5 will accept, the courts will accept I made the wrong call. I hold my hands up, I did that. But an independent business complaints commission will not work because this term, I'll tell you because I've chaired the business complaints commission. There is no real enthusiasm for anyone outside of the government to do anything with that body. The brunt of the work has been done by myself and Sanguis when he was Minister of State for Business. The suggestion that you would send these cases to court, Cian, these aren't criminal cases. You can't just take them to court. This is about misconduct in the private sector. That just does not add up. And the suggestion from can I finish my point? Sorry.
Of course.
The suggestions from the Imperial Party and Labour about an independent media authority or Ofcom, I find it interesting that Labour particularly is saying that now, when I had the Prime Minister's full support with the Channel 5 case. He and the government were with me the whole way on that. They agreed with my decision. They signed off on that decision. That an Ofcom, an independent media authority, would just add bureaucracy to the whole thing, when what we need is just simple legislation outlining media freedoms, which is what we have, which is what the last government delivered on. We will maintain that, and we will protect media companies' freedom to operate within those guidelines and produce the content that they want to produce, of course, ensuring it isn't offensive, harmful, breaks any laws. That's what a Liberal Democrat government would do.
Well, I must agree on your point of New Labour, obviously, but I don't know why. Why would you propose something and then go back on it every single election? This isn't the first time. If you read through their original manifesto, they just change and change and change. And why can we trust them to actually introduce a independent Ofcom if they can't even be trusted to make the Business Complaints Commission right? Now, I suggest we have a similar connection to the Ministry of Justice, because they have a proven record on cases. They are a court, all right? Now, the current system has no accountability to it. No one knows about the cases until they're actually completed, and well, then the charges are done. There's no transparency in the entire system, and we just need a better system in place, you know. And I think that the Conservatives are the only party that can actually deliver this.
So can I just answer that very quickly? That's not true. There is complete transparency with all cases. From the minute that a business owner is informed that a case is being investigated, it all goes on the Treasury server. I'm happy to show Cian if he wants. He is Treasury staff, so I'd imagine that he would know these things. But any viewers, I'm happy to publicise on Twitter or whatever. I'll make an announcement. Those channels are there, and you can always see information. I'm always happy to answer questions about transparency and what we do in the Business Complaints Commission. The fact is, sending cases to the Ministry of Justice is just going to add unnecessarily to their workload, when all we need is a committed Chancellor, a committed Business Minister, and a committed commission to investigate these cases, make a decision, and move on. That's what we need, and that's what a Liberal Democrat government would do.
Let me just add to the point of sort of transparency on the Imperial side. So we, as Imperials, recognise firstly, and most importantly, that there is a slight fluctuation of coherency and consistency to the BCC, really. This is due to the fact that there are no proper guidelines for penalties. We as Imperials would ensure that there is proper guidelines and legislation in place to protect businesses from unjust penalties, as well as, alternatively, protect and back the BCC for a good and accurate decision. Because just like a business shouldn't be sort of accused, shouldn't be mistreated, the BCC shouldn't either. It also allows for a degree of transparency in sort of the proceedings, and it is a clear message to those who are purposely wanting to tiptoe around or violate safeguard legislation and put people at risk of the clear consequences of their actions. We as Imperials are looking to further introduce a business advice and protection service, which will prove useful to provide businesses with a safety net and advice regarding issues they may have. We need to support businesses, not just penalise.
Well, thank you all for you once again for that topic. We'll go on to our next topic, and this is about emergency services. And we all know that last time we saw, what was it? We saw a state of an emergency in Eastwick, I think I remember. And a lot of increased crime last time. How will you guys support the emergency services? Hello.
Nobody else want to start for once? Well, I guess I'll have to start again.
Dean,
So-
So my side is very laggy right now, so I'm kind of like holding on for dear life on this Kindle. I do apologise sincerely.
I guess I'll go then. Pretty
go.
much. This term we've seen chaos in the Home Office, I must say. We had the MWest CEO fired, then got rehired, and then he resigned because of all the chaos from this government. Now, what we plan to do, we're going to review the legislation. We're not going to lie like New Labour did last term. They said 11 acts required urgent attention. How many acts did they give urgent attention? None. They didn't give a single one urgent attention. Some of them, they actually had to go to the Imperials who repealed them, which, you know, if you're government, you shouldn't really be doing that.
We were
Anyhow.
working on our own repeal act. There was a great repeal act being made that term, but there was a
And
bit of an argument,
what
I
happened
believe.
with them 3 bills that required urgent amendments that weren't made? The 11 bills that required urgent looking at or something, which, as far as I'm aware, nothing happened, and obviously everybody else knows nothing happened. We need Home Office transparency, and we need to review the infrastructure, especially when it comes to complaints. There have been a lot of complaints this term, you know, from like the PACE Act. People have been searched just standing. That's obviously a clear breach of the law, and we need to improve the complaints procedure, work with the existing Gold Command rather than sack them, rehire them, and then make them resign. And we also need to really look at the fire and ambulance services. You know, GMP gets a lot of attention. Let's actually, let these other services get some more attention. I think we should look into similar recruitment methods to that of Bath. You know, have like tryouts, have recruitment stands in Eastbrook, actually get people properly involved in these services. And I reckon we can do a really good job with this and actually continue to grow the Home Office employment figures. And we also, what we've been looking at, obviously there's a bit of a growth in the private health ambulances, that kind of thing. We'll support that. More choice. It's better for everyone. Let's, just continue to pretty much allow more people to role play.
Thank you,
Would
Nike,
anyone-
for promoting your sort of ambulance service and your private little sector. But
There are
no
multiple
problem.
competitors.
I'll let you have the spotlight with that one. But anyway, on the issue of crime last term, we did see an increase, partially due to the fact that we've had a massive surge in citizens during lockdown. I think the biggest issue is the gun crime pandemic, and the Imperial Manifesto has a plan that cracks down on gun crime, as well as repurpose and promote more activity into the Serious Crimes Division and the Ministry of Justice. It offers a fair but effective way to tackle those who use firearms frequently, and for the more serious crimes and organised crimes, through the Serious Crimes Division. The Serious Crimes Division will have sort of underground government, an open ticket system to allow people to submit evidence and have one-to-one conversations with a number of SCD detectives. This should be one of the primary aims of the division, really, investigating serious crimes and prosecuting people with the fairer maximum sentences that were introduced last term. Currently, I think it's just the Detective Chief Inspector who handles serious crimes reports, as far as I'm aware. It would be a good thing to have an increase of staff handling these tickets on a much more personal and case-by-case basis, where people can also see the feedback from their reports that they're submitting and know if their reports have impacted in any way, as ultimately the job of a police officer is to serve justice on behalf of victims. We must start prosecuting those at the top of serious organised crime, causing misery to hundreds of citizens and workers, really.
Would Karanka or Dean like to put anything in?
I
That's
don't
ridiculous.
mind. You wish. I will get straight to the point because I don't like boring people on stream. Our plans for the Home Office. What we want to do is continue driving publicity towards our services, like with recruitment campaigns, like we did with the Serve Your Community recruitment campaign, the term that just went. We also want to kind of include like the Royal Irish Constabulary more in events because they don't get as much attention as they should. They're still a core part of our emergency services, especially for Ireland as they're currently the only one there. We want deep and thorough review and reforms in each service to actually make sure that standards are upheld, so that they're actually to standard, they can actually serve the community to the full effectiveness that anyone would want them to. We also kind of want to work with the Ministry of Justice to actually help the Greater Manchester Police understand offences and common law. I can't pronounce this word. Statutory law. What happens when you have a London accent? And another thing is we also want to use social media a bit more. There were a few concerns about the Home Office not tweeted or not publicising as much as it should, and we do kind of want to listen to those complaints. So we definitely want to show what our services are actually doing, what the Home Office is actually doing to help people. And another big plan of ours is to establish the DVLA, which would streamline driver training programs.
God.
We don't want to do this without infringing on the independence of our services. We don't want to make them overly bureaucratic. We don't want to keep them down. That would be contrary to what we actually want to do. And another thing is we want to actually, and this is a topic that hasn't been mentioned yet, is immigration. We actually want to provide more clarity on immigration rules. Government does get quite a lot of DMs, direct messages about immigration. I sure as hell do. We actually want to provide more clarity and help people actually understand how they can become citizens and they can actually be enrolled in the UK. Not only that, but we want to also do regular trainings. We actually want to get regular trainings for each service, GMP, NWAS, etc., and have even tri-service trainings to improve communication between all the services that are under the Home Office. So that's what we're planning under a new Labour government, a People's government, and for sure, a emergency services government.
Well, would Karanka like to put any input into this?
I would, yeah. So I'd actually like to say well done to Dean for having the bravery to mention the DVLA, given the thrashing that policy's had in the media the last couple of days. It's certainly an interesting idea, and he mentioned it cutting down on bureaucracy when, to me, all it seems to do is add to bureaucracy. Driver training is something that emergency services are perfectly capable of administering themselves. They don't need a chief, they don't need a body to organise that. It's completely unnecessary and certainly not what our emergency services need. What do they need? Well, they need a transparent Home Office that's going to work with them constructively. I would say it would certainly be my desire to see some kind of review into public service efficiency and see how we can improve that. Certainly a Home Office that doesn't shy away from the truth and the reality in Eastbrook in our public services, so we can deal with those issues as much as possible. When it comes to immigration, I think that as this term's proven, I mean, it's interesting that it suggested that daily in the New Labour manifesto, daily immigration processing will become regular when it already is regular. It's done every day. Cabinet ministers take their fair share and they get that done. I mean, with the Home Office, it's time to look past the common perception that you either have a government that interferes too much or doesn't interfere at all and allows the public services to just sort themselves out. We need a middle way approach on that, and I think that our plans for a more transparent Home Office, for a Home Office that works effectively with those public services, doesn't tell them what to do, but asks what they need, and do that in a constructive way with department leaders.
Well, thank you for that once again. Our last topic for this our last question is before we get into audience questions, is we have seen a lot of toxic. Oh my god, I can't even say it, mate. Toxic campaigns from everyone so far. And for me, I think it's gross. But what are your views on all the toxic campaigns?
Should I go first, I suppose?
Go ahead.
Right, I might as well. So, I will admit, toxic campaigning, no one wants to see it. It's toxic in the bloody. And strongly condemn any toxic campaigning that actually happens. Whether it be campaign staff harassing people, whether it be in tweets or in GFX, fancy posters, etc. And again, this might sound absolutely useless to say, but I condemn it. And I genuinely like to do whatever I can to basically tell people, no, just don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't be toxic, please. You're not helping. It makes everyone just feel crap. It makes everyone turn on each other. And honestly, I don't think anyone on this stage wants to constantly get harassed by people probably in their party or in another party of what they stand for, because of what they say, etc. So it is with every part of my body that I strongly condemn toxic campaigning, and even within sort of my own party, I do kind of actually interfere and go, "Hey, stop doing that, please. Stop being toxic. Just stop." So that's my take on it.
It's great you do that, Dean. Shows your morals. But can I just say, right at the start of this whole campaigning period, before even the campaigning, 2 hours before campaigning was even allowed, New Labour put out an attacking poster straight away. I didn't plan to do any sort of attacking posters, nothing like that. But New Labour constantly, through the 2, 3, 4 days that we've been campaigning so far, attack and attack and attack. And you're totally right. It's not good being harassed, and it's not good sort of having that toxicity, and it's not good because I'm receiving the end of it, really. All New Labour have done, all right, just to be quite frank, have picked up on the point of this Robux thing, and all that's happened is Imperials has been battered and battered and battered by twisted and demonised words. So let me just clear the whole Robux thing right now for you. Okay. I spoke with Toby the other day, who is your Home Secretary candidate, and he admitted to me that previously, during terms, what they decided to do was give Nitro out as a reward, coming from his own pocket, which is very noble. Well done on you. It is the same with the Robux situation, coming from my own pocket to sort of service workers to say, look, this is my gratitude personally from me to others. It's not bribery, so don't twist our words. The main policy was regarding medals. So I find it ironic how you say it's not good to sort of be toxic and I'm stopping it in my party, but your party are constantly DMing my voters and my supporters and other supporters, demonising our words and saying to voters as well, well, will you look at that? Imperials have got a strike, an unfair strike that was given because the bot was broken. A strike that we tried to sort of appeal. And I find it just really ironic that New Labour are talking about toxicity when they initially started it, and all they've done is demonise my words, our words, and constantly just attack and attack and attack. And it's not just New Labour, it's not just Imperials. You did it to the Tories, you're doing it to Liberal Democrats. And as much as we want to keep it clear, it's frustrating, especially when you guys started it without even getting into campaigning. That's the reality of it, and that's the truth, and you can't deny that.
If I can actually have a reply on that, there's a few things I actually just want to speak on that. I do agree with the general message. Being toxic during a campaign, it's crap. No one likes seeing it. But you've got to separate toxic campaigning from normal campaigning that's been done for how long the UK has been here for. It's normal for parties to have attack ads. That's kind of been general. And not to mention that the first ads that actually came out sort of before the campaigning officially begun wasn't actually an attack ad. And even in regards to the whole free Nitro situation, I feel like that's a bit invalid when you have to consider that it's Nathalis's last day. It's kind of his last moments as Home Secretary. It's literally his kind of farewell gift to people. It's barely bribery in the slightest. Anyone can grab it, and he can't exactly go up to that person and go, "Oh, you better vote New Labour for that," because he can't. In fact, he probably doesn't even know who got the Nitro. I mean, you're gonna have to ask him on that, obviously, but literally he can't control that. It's not a controlled environment for him to actually bribe people with it. He clearly hasn't been doing. With the Robux scheme that the Imperials have, which I like to call it the Imperial Pension Scheme because I like giving names to things. Use it if you want. With that's kind of just, I mean, it's really good of you that you're using it out of your own pocket to actually pay people obviously serving and protecting the community. But that's controlled. You can actually control who gets what. Let's look at it like this. On Discord, when you give out free Nitro into a channel...
During an election.
During an election, the thing is, I just kind of said you can't bribe, can you? You can't. Let me actually go into more detail on that.
Which is why, when you are giving it during interim out of your own pocket, it doesn't matter if it's Robux or Nitro, doing it during a campaigning season, and fair enough, all right, Nathlis is last sort of thing. It wasn't Toby, so why did Toby do it? Putting it in a public chat, in announcement saying, thanks guys, here's free Nitro, during a campaigning season, in an attempt to basically get voters, and that's what it is. Let's be honest, to build up popularity for that candidate.
That
It's
is
not
bribery.
appropriate at all.
I
It
don't
is
think
literal
people vote for
bribery.
parties based on Nitro, Fen.
You'd be surprised. Your
I
party's
don't
doing
think they
pretty well
would.
based
It's
off it.
completely up to them. You can't enforce that, can you?
I'm not
You
gonna
just
lie, I-
can't. You're promising Robux during a campaign. That could persuade people. Free Nitro in a chat that anyone can grab at it. Honestly, for some people, that might dissuade them from voting in anger that they didn't get Nitro, if we can interpret it like that. So it's a bit stupid that that's being used as a talking point for, like, you know, slagging off New Labour. Like, it's pathetic. Really.
No, isn't
Well,
it funny though? Isn't it funny though? Dean has just spoke to us, saying he calls out toxicity. His party's legit been campaigning on that. His party has not only gone very close to breaking electoral rules, which, if elected, we're going to take a look at the legislation, and it's disgraceful. Really, it is disgraceful. He's calling out everyone, saying, "Oh, they're toxic, they're toxic." His party's legit the core issue with this, And they've been DMing people, constantly spamming them. They've been posting attack adverts from day one before campaigning was even open. It's disgraceful. I think he should actually apologise.
Well, it won't be, because we haven't been
Because you
spam
look
DMing
toxic.
people,
You are
who,
toxic.
constantly harassing
toxic.
people. And
Sorry,
clearly
no.
haven't been.
Sorry, no, you have, because 3 times now your campaign staff have entered my server, told me that they've joined accidentally, and then try to verify. What is the point? You've
Yeah,
purposely
they know
targeted-
the rules. They know that.
Well, they don't know
Actually,
very well,
I will
do they?
say this now. Theo has reminded them, actually. Theo, the leader of New Labour.
Oh,
He's actually had to remind them, and that's good of him. He's actually reminded them, actually told them, look, stop breaking rules, or you can actually get sacked for
he
that.
didn't remind
He's
you
actually
of
doing his job as
to bribe
the
people, did he?
new Labour leader.
I'm
And the
gonna.
thing is,
I'm gonna.
they know the rules. As soon as they're hired, they should know the rules. They know better.
Well,
If
I
they
mean,
actually
this is what-
did
this
have
is what happens
malicious intent, then yes, they will, face the consequence.
This is what happens. when
We'll
you promise
actually be looking
positions
into
for
it
votes.
as a party.
This is what happens when
we
you promise
haven't.
positions for votes and hire 30 campaigners when your entire party and anyone that believes in your party should be campaigning anyway. This is what happens, mate. It's the truth.
Can I?
Oh,
can I
It's
come
a
in,
joke what
please?
you've just said.
I'm gonna let Karanka have a
Of course.
because he hasn't spoken on. Go ahead, Karanka.
Okay, so I don't think anybody really cares about the kind of cross-party warfare that seems to be happening right now outside of this call. So let's just come beyond this whole Labour did this, Imperials did that, Labour did this, Imperials did that, you're saying this, you're saying that. Nobody really cares. The first thing we need to do is draw a really important distinction between what is bad play and what is just done not in good faith. There are plenty of things, there are plenty of accusations that you can throw around, but I think that most people would agree. Electoral legislation is quite clear. In my eyes, no party in this campaign has done anything illegal, and if they have, I would have complete faith in the Electoral Commission to investigate that completely. But what we really need to understand here is that toxic campaigns, this kind of throwing punches approach that I talked about earlier on, doesn't help the actual debates that we really need to have about the future of this country. There's plenty of policy that I would have liked to have talked about tonight that we haven't got round to because you have just spent 10 minutes talking about toxicity when
That was the
really
question.
you did spend a lot of the 10 minutes shouting about who did what and so did that, and not my fault, which just doesn't help any of us. So I think that we need to be very clear, like I said, about what is out of order and what is against the law and what is just done in bad faith. What benefits this country is for the parties to have a genuine discussion about what policy works and what policy would help to improve the state of affairs in the UK. And I've focused our campaign. I've talked a lot about leadership in the Lib Dems campaign because I think that's what really matters, is what kind of people and what kind of approach you're going to take to running the country. And to me, that would be a consensus one. And I've demonstrated that as Chancellor. I had a New Labour minister, an Imperial Shadow Chancellor, a majority Tory staff, and we got things done. We passed legislation. We introduced the Bank of England, which is one of the most progressive moves that the Treasury's made in a number of months. And we reformed much needed, we reformed out-of-date legislation. and made much needed changes to the Treasury and to the function of government. And that's how I'd take the top job. I would take exactly the same approach on every single department, work on consensus, work with other parties, rather than having this kind of binary approach to everything. It doesn't help anybody. And I think that having just a genuine, simple discussion about policy, the merits, the demerits, helps us best.
Well, thank you for that, Karanka. Some would say wise words. Anyway, our first question we're going to move on to the audience questions now, as we've been waffling on quite a bit. Our first question from the audience is from Karen. Karen, the bloody woman, says the Conservative Party, according to many, is dying. According to BBC analysis, the Conservatives have made little gains over the campaigning period, most likely due to the lack of Discord campaigning. Many would have thought that under your leadership, the party would be on the way up, and obviously under Sparta's leadership. However, at the moment, it could be on the way to coming last at the election. Would the Tories be sustainable without an imperial merger? That is clearly at the Conservative representative. So, Ian, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, Karen, I can see your concerns, but I think what we must remember is the oldest party still around. We've been around for many, many elections. Yes, we've had mergers in the past, but we're not looking to do that right now. And what I must remind Karen is polling's not always accurate. Look 2 elections ago, Labour were predicted to get 2 seats. They got 15, and they were able to form a coalition and actually get into government. What we need to remember is we need to actually, when people are voting, it doesn't matter if they've been DM'd all day. It doesn't matter if they're in a Discord server. It matters actually on the day who they're going to vote for. We've set out our policies. We've campaigned here and there. Hey, we could have done more. We could have done less. And we just pretty much think that on the day, people are going to pick, the party that they actually think is going to get stuff done. And it's obviously, Karen, it's your decision. You can vote for us. You don't have to, but we're the party that's providing an alternative. We've set out what we want to do. If you don't like us, don't vote us. If you like us, vote us. Simple as. And we're here in the long run. We're the longest serving party here,
Well, I'm not going to let anyone debate that because that's nothing.
Because it's true.
Next up, from Kieran9 from Birmingham. Why?
Oh my god.
Jesus, guys.
I want to ask this.
Why did the new Labour make Eleanor Sinema the Minister for Immigration at the start of this campaign, despite her anti-Commonwealth attitude and the way she acted within?
I'm trying to make sure this Kindle doesn't just die on me as it's like directed at me. No, not like the party. I mean, it's more like my love life than the party.
Dean, sorry to interrupt.
Anyway.
We'd just like to
Yes.
Can the viewers, feel free to feed in questions to us. And we are looking for some more audience questions. So go ahead. Okay, Dean, go ahead.
Let's get to this. So with Eleanor Cinema, I'm probably botching that. Initially, it was the Imperial Party that had hired her back when she kind of started getting into UK politics, just to add a bit of context, obviously. Then she defected to us about kind of at the end of the term, and she was initially a backbencher, but we made her sort of immigration minister because of her actual experience. We thought she would actually be good with the job. It was only then that some of the sort of anti-Commonwealth talk actually came from her. Once that was discovered, once we had that knowledge, we did actually remove her from the cabinet team. So we were acting on what we had. We were acting on the evidence, and I can safely tell everyone on this stage before they inevitably get out their swords and knives that she is not in New Labour's cabinet.
It's not the first time something like this has happened, though, is it? Look at Tom J. Wicker. It took you 2 weeks to remove him.
God.
We won't debate this. Okay.
Of course.
This question is from Diane Abbott, who was the
Oh
Imperial.
Lord.
Will you be dissolving your party anytime soon to merge with the Tories? Also, your manifesto states a policy in which you would allow foreign citizens to study law in the UK, primarily Commonwealth citizens. How will you roll this out, and is this plan actually feasible?
Firstly, thank you, Diane Abbott, for your question. All right, big fan of you, of course. I will not go back onto the Eleanor situation, but I would just like to clear it up from our perspective quickly. We hired her to give her a sort of opportunity, and we didn't know that she had these anti sort of beliefs about the Commonwealth. Towards the first question, all right, about a merger and dissolving our party, a little bit of history about the Imperials. We formed 2 months ago, 4 days before a general election, and lost by 3 votes. That is a big, incredible sort of thing to happen, and no other party has ever done that before. And it proves for a point that just because it's old doesn't mean it's gold at the end of the day, and newer parties do have a chance. We do not plan on merging with the Tories anytime soon. We think that we are in a good position electorally. I am very, very hesitant about stuff like mergers and coalitions for the fact that I don't want to sell out my voters. And I do think that if anything like a merger or coalition were to happen, it needs to be sort of done quite meticulously. It needs to be sort of really, really thought about without compromising voters too much. We currently do not have any plans to merge with the Tories at all. More onto the other question about allowing foreign citizens to study law in the UK, primarily Commonwealth citizens, if it's possible and if it's feasible, I think you asked. With that sort of question, what we as Britons need to be is proud of the systems we have. It's not just the justice system. We should be proud of everything we have, because essentially, at the bottom line, yes, we want to improve our systems and stuff, but we have good working systems and good working departments. That is the bottom line. We lead the way for the community at the moment, and we should be happy enough for people to come to the UK and study law, for example, all right, in the Ministry of Justice, take up points on how our system works, and then go back to their own countries and try and implement them systems. It recognises how well our system works for a start, and to be honest, it's a bit of pride for us as well to think, hang on a minute, that we pioneered this system, we keep on constantly improving it, and people value Britain that much that they want to come to Britain, study law, use the system we have here, and use the education system here as well, and take it abroad, and then go and sort of implement it in their own aspects there. We should be proud of that. We have got a good Ministry of Justice now, and we should be really, really proud, and we should be showing it off to other nations and saying, look, we've got this incredible thing. Come here, study with us, and take it back and go and do it in your own countries, especially Commonwealth countries. And that way we can help them develop their system as well and be a bit more unified about it.
Thank you for that, Phantom. Our next question. This is from Matthew from Ben Spurs 21 TV. He says, this is what he says: as a CM in TRU/FRU, will we get extra protection by the parties? We get attacked way too much, and we are scared to go on duty due to the attacks, and we cannot get our job done. Who would like to respond to this excellent question?
Sorry, Sean, could you repeat the question?
Why?
Because I didn't hear.
Nobody understood a word you just said.
Fuck's sake, mate. Fucking.
I like to think I have good hearing.
Okay, Dom, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yo, so basically, yeah, there's no Secretary General of the United Nations at the moment, and considering this is still pretty important for some reason, because I don't know. But basically, I want to know what each party is voting for. So I think we should start off with the incumbent government. So Dean, who would you be voting for in the Secretary General elections?
I need to check if the Kindle is still working, because it's on it's on 20% battery. Shit. Ah, so bad. Can you quickly go to the next person? Because I need to fix
Can
this.
I
I need to
answer?
get a charger. I really do apologise. I'm extremely sorry.
I'm
Okay.
still in the government until Sunday, so I can answer.
Go on then.
It'd be. If we back anyone, it's going to be the best of a bad bunch, isn't it? To be honest, I don't think it's a fantastic array of choices, but if pushed, I'd probably go with LDU.
Well, okay. Who else? Speak.
Yeah, thank you. So, from an Imperial perspective, we would probably back LDU.
Oh dear. Who else is left?
Right. So, pretty much, I haven't been following the thing that closely, to be honest, because I couldn't really give too much about the UN because the organisation is a bit all over the place all the time. But what we need to do is we actually are going to have a look into the candidates. None of them are actually any good, to be honest. Let me just say that. But I'll consider all options as long as it's not Thomas J. Roosevelt because he would be horrific.
Right, next question. Yeah. What are you going to do about the Yadders being unbanned if you get elected?
To
Well-
speak about that, our party has took quite a hardline stance on stuff like doxing and exploiting. It is totally not acceptable whatsoever in our community at all, and it needs stamping out straight away. The Yarders are quite a toxic bunch. They are quite notorious for doxing and exploiting places. We pledged in our manifesto to try and remove these doxers, to try and remove of exploiters from our community because, again, there is no place for it, and we will continue to take that zero tolerance hardline with it.
Right, cool. Anyone else
Is
want
that-
to speak about that? What's
Sorry,
happening with
I,
this as well?
I think. Sorry, I think I've got my Kindle to like respond for once. Sorry. If I could quickly answer Dom's question from before, because I think we've moved on a bit. Not all the options are great for the UN, but we do want the least anti-UK option or someone who can actually represent UK interests. So chances are, as a country or at the UN, we'll be probably voting for LDU. He's sort of one of the best people there from where we're looking. So that's just quickly clarifying that question. I did want to answer that, otherwise I'll inevitably get killed later. And I think the next question is about doxing, because I heard something about that. And this is something I hold to my heart, actually, because we, as a country, we actually need to start taking a hard line against doxing, like actually using a place in the community to start stamping it out properly. And as the Foreign Secretary, or the Shadow Foreign Secretary, but if we are elected, I want to work with people like Conor Novak, who's the Permanent Undersecretary, and start actually using that influence to kind of start stamping, actually making the community better, get rid of these people once and for all.
Right, finally, yeah. There's a bill being proposed this weekend, yeah. They're trying to get rid of knockouts as a relevant way of monitoring raids. So, has anything been done by the government this week to prevent this or rip against it?
I didn't hear what you said because it cut out halfway through.
So you heard about the bill, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So what's been done by the government to rip against it?
Which bill are we talking about here? Because
The one that makes knockouts in any raid monitored by the UNDPA irrelevant.
I think he's not going to answer that point because he doesn't have an answer for it, to be quite frankly honest.
I'm trying to hear it. Sorry, because this Kindle is crap. Like I keep saying, it keeps cutting out. I don't know why, and I'm getting really frustrated at it.
Alright, I'll type it out in the
God.
chat for you. So.
If you don't mind, can I just say our answer from
my
our own
God.
perspective? Because this is something I hold quite dearly to my heart. Being an ex-SAS officer, being quite sort of done out with BAF, I've done it all my sort of Roblox career, if you want to be that cringe about it. But it's what I've done, and it really, really is quite dear to my heart that they're now wanting to change the system. To ultimately, I don't really agree with it. I mean, back in them days, the good old days, and I can go on like an old man as much as I want, but you would go into a war zone quite sort of disadvantaged with rubbish guns, rubbish sort of map, and you would have people that can adapt to them maps, adapt to them people, and adapt to them weapon systems, and go out there and win. That was it pretty much. I mean, making it fair and stuff, it's just whinging really, isn't it? I mean, it's been fine before. We're just getting to a point now where we're whinging it. The current system, yeah, it's not great, but it works. I don't really see the point of changing it.
Like,
I
can't.
must agree with him.
So,
Okay,
have you noticed yet? Let me just say something before I leave. Have you all noticed how none of the things discussed about the UN has been positive? Like, this is a fucking car crash organisation. Why are we in it? Whoever gets in government, you should be holding a referendum to get us the fuck out of it, because it's an absolute sham. In a bit.
Barry Stanton would agree, not gonna lie. Anyway, Roblox Barry Stanton, that is. Anyway, we have a question from Mr. David Langley. This question is, he wanted to know about committees and the parliamentary procedures, parliamentary behaviour from leaders and parties. For example, Imperial leader David Langley removing the committee. Wait, what? Mate, the way he's worded this question. And e.g.
committees and
Imperial
stuff.
leader walking out for the speaker calling the member of Carrot. And what will you do to ensure Britain's international? That one we just answered that. So just the one that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll start first. Firstly, me and Mr. David Langley have had an up and down sort of relationship. To be quite frankly honest, I'll just make it quite public to sort of the entire public. When New Labour reintroduced committees, they did it quite shocking, to be quite frankly honest. They tried to put down an extension bill, which failed. It took me to actually sort of repeal the bill, rewrite it completely, and sort of now get to functioning committees. That is totally just an imperial sort of bill that was rewritten completely, agreed, and it passed through the Lords with absolutely no questions asked about it. Every single Lord was content with it. That proves that Imperials are actually quite good at writing bills, and personally, and it also proves that I actually do care about the Commons quite a lot. Just another point as well, the standing orders. Standing orders were absolutely broken for for the Commons. Yeah, for the Commons. I said this whilst we were sort of in the Commons as well. I spent about 4 hours neglecting my kids to write out standing orders. Off the top of my head, it was like 6,000 words, something like 20 odd pages, and it does just show that
crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, I am just really, really committed to improving the Commons, because obviously being a politician for quite a long time, being in the House of Lords and stuff like that as well. When I came back to politics, I did see quite a gap and a bit of a change. It needed amendment, and I took the responsibility for that to amend the standing orders, to amend the committees, and I have been quite undeniably quite an avid supporter of the Commons and sort of backing what it does. Really, it was. He brings up the point about walking out as well. When we walked out, that was due to a motion not being heard. This once again shows my respect for the Commons, and it's a good respect because we sit in the Commons and we have the right to have our motions heard, have our bills heard, have our points of views heard. And there was a motion raised about delaying the session because a lot of people couldn't attend due to Virgin Media. The Speaker refused to listen to the motion, in which I continuously asked for the motion to be listened to, as that was the right thing. It's democratic, and it is the right of an MP. All of the opposition walked out because the Speaker refused to listen to the motion, including that as well. Including that, lots of government members walked out as well, quite high-ranking cabinet members. So it actually proves to show that there are a lot of people that care about the system and care about how it works. And it isn't just Imperials, it isn't just Tories, it isn't just Lib Dems, it's also government members as well.
I'm going to stop you there so someone else can. Karanka. Yeah, that Karanka.
Happily. I found the shenanigans, should we put it like that, last term with the walkout and the constant point of orders and the fuss over who could say a statement and who can't. Or
Point
a
of order.
massive waste of time. And I don't know whether it's just because I've done this for quite a number of years now, but I really don't see the point of wasting everybody's time just to prove points when it comes to getting to say your bit first, or stopping somebody else from saying their bit. I mean, being speaker isn't an easy job, and I don't envy whoever takes that role next. But I think that we just need to accept that every single one of us as MPs has to take, a chunk of the responsibility for ensuring everything runs properly. And, with committees, for example, I think that it's been a positive thing that that's been discussed on a cross-party basis, and we haven't just allowed Charles Cunningham in this case to just, write his bill, and then everybody else weighs in with their opinions and criticises him and leaves him to do the work. Credit to Fenton for working with him on that bill, and I know the members of the House have done that as well. That's what needs to happen, and that's how I'd view everything. For example, one of the proposals in the Lib Dem manifesto is to introduce a mayor for Westbridge, and I know that that's not going to happen overnight for logistical reasons, because we are going to have Westbridge for we don't know when that's going to come out. For a while, yeah. So it would be a good chance for us to exercise, the debating system, which is a positive move for the Commons. We can discuss it as a white paper. I did this with the Bank of England. We held a couple of debates and we discussed the proposals, and people chipped in with their opinions. And then I worked up my own proposal and I put that forward in a bill. I'd go through that again with Westbridge Mayor and decide what powers it should have, what its relationship with the government and other departments should be. And I'd do that in a positive way, and I wouldn't aim to just solely take credit for that. No, I wouldn't solely want to take the blame for that. I want Parliament to work together on producing something that everybody's in agreement with. And I think that's, that doesn't work for everything. We shouldn't be ruled by Parliament, but there is lots of positive things that we can do together to decide policy and to get things done. And ultimately, the benefit is you're going to get a proposal that more people agree on, rather than something that's just been forced through by the government's majority, or some kind of whipping operation. We can get bills that are agreed on by consensus amongst everyone. So that's what I'd like to see Parliament do more often.
Well, thank you very much. We have one last question, okay? And our last question is towards Mr. Nine Kean. And this is from Brenda, Atro's mother, and
Is it?
Oh God.
She put 2 kisses at the end. Why do we have to hear your voice for the second time? Why is Sparta not here?
Well, what I
Great.
must say to Atro's mother, she's a lovely woman, me and her, we meet up on a frequent basis. But what I must say is
Not as good as Supreme's mother.
my voice will not be leaving anytime soon, all right? And Smart can't be here because he's ill. He's also got something on. I think you should really be asking the Prime Minister where he is, because he actually is actively online, but we'll skip over that anyway. Pretty much.
I can confirm he's busy. I can confirm.
No, it's okay. If you wanna, if you are indeed insecure about your voice, it's okay.
Now, what I want to say is, why doesn't Atro come down right now to the studio and mic up with his awful internet and his awful mic that lags every second if he's going to have a go at me, alright? So tell him to come down and mic up right now.
Oh,
Well, Atro, we'll leave that to another time. Okay, this is all we have time for today, but we will not go without your closing statements. So, each of you will also get a minute for your closing statement, and let's go from Dean to Kean this time. So, Dean,
let's start with me. Right, so first of all, I'm actually going to use that 30 seconds of this to say thank you to Fen, thank you to Nine Kean, thank you to Karanka for being here. It's actually been rather nice debating and speaking, and his kin stands. And this is to the viewers now. We need a majority. We need a government that actually has a majority. We need to get things done. We need to get legislation passed. We need this country to actually thrive. And I'm going to be completely honest. I really do not see any of the three parties here forming a majority government. It will just be coalitions or confidence and supply. It's going to be absolute anarchy. And from how I'm seeing it right now, New Labour is the only party right now that can form the majority, form that people's government that we need, actually get Britain on its legs again and get it to thrive even more than we already have made it. We need to keep Britain great. We need to keep a people's government. We need to keep people thriving. So I'm going to leave it on that and say thank you to everyone else who's actually been on the stage today. Again, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Next up, we have the leader of the Imperial Party, Phantom Jarka. Go ahead.
Once again, thank you for everyone coming onto the stage today. It does take a bit of nerve to do. It's not a particularly sort of natural thing to do, to be talking at a screen and shouting over a microphone, but it does take a lot of nerve, to be honest. So well done for that. Big up respect for it. Let me just say again, you've heard the points I've had to bring. Hopefully you've read our manifesto and you've truly seen what is the way forward. Just to tell you the narrative again, once again, there is only every other year a party that comes and shifts the UK into next gear. It is formed out of dissatisfaction and apathy of the current political systems and parties. The party comes forward with forward-thinking ideas and innovative policies, and it is time for the British Lion to roar again. It is truly only the Imperial Party who has rose from the ground, being the youngest party, and pushed their ways to the front line. There is a choice this election, Britain. Vote for the party that cares, that was built on the same soil of the earth that we are all built from, by true love and patriotism for this country. They work only with you and for you. Make the right decision this election. You've heard what we've had to say, and vote Imperial Party, and truly, honestly, we will move forward and we can move forward.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. Jarka. Next up we have Karanka123, who is the leader of the Liberal.
Okay, so firstly, following the pattern, I'd like to thank Channel 5 and all of the representatives this evening for coming on. It's been an interesting debate. It's certainly been interesting to hear some answers to some questions, which we haven't answered a great deal of this campaign. I think what this debate has really showed, though, is how important leadership is. We have had a lot of bag slinging and punch throwing in this debate, and I don't think that's helpful, and I don't think that's what you really want. I think the kind of leadership you want is a different and unique leadership that takes into account everybody's opinion and works on a consensus basis, but a leadership that's grounded in knowing what works, which we are, because we've been in government for the last 2 months. I have a lot of experience in Parliament and government, and so do my colleagues. We know what we need, and we know what this country needs. We need reform on an international level in the UN and Commonwealth. We need a transparent Home Office. We need business policy that respects business owners' independence, but puts the Treasury. And we need an Ireland that's functioning, and we need a people who know what they're doing when it comes to devolution. And I think that the Lib Dems can offer that. And I'd really urge anyone to not listen to the kind of rhetoric about, if you vote for this party, you're going to get a majority. If you vote for this party, you're going to get that. Vote with your heart and vote for the leadership that you want. And I hope that this evening I've showed you that the Liberal Democrats can offer
that. Thank you, Karanka123. Next up we have whoever the hell he is. I think he's a backbencher in the Conservative Party. 9 Keel.
Well, I must thank Channel 5, obviously, for the debate, and obviously everybody's attended. This is obviously my second one on Channel 5 and the second Channel 5 one, so it's obviously doing something right, and I think it's a good opportunity for the people of this country to listen to everyone's viewpoints and actually come to a decision without being bombarded by direct messages from one party, direct messages from the other, allow people to hear different voices. Anyhow, this election, you don't have to pick the party that claims they're going to get a majority when they won't. They lied about that last term. They're going to lie about it again. No party's probably going to get a majority. You can actually pick who you want to be in government, no matter if they're going to get no matter how they are in the polls, it doesn't matter. They're going to stand up for your voice in Parliament. And let me tell you one thing. We've been in Parliament the longest out of these, and we'll continue to attend every session and stand up for your voice in Parliament if you vote us. And that's my promise to the people of Britain. So when it is election day, you can vote Conservative, and we will stand up for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nine Kian. That is all we have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. And I thank each and every single one of you 4 ladies for coming to the studio for the debate. I thank you.
Thank you.
It's 20, man. You can't say that.
I appreciate it for all of you coming, and good luck to every single one of your respective parties. And also, I must say, we have bodied Blocksheen. Anyway, and we must also remember that on Sunday, I think it is on Sunday, we have an election night special that we are partnering with BBC to do this. So be sure to watch that. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great one. And I've been your host, Sean Rurak. It's been a pleasure. This is Channel 5 over.